Hey, welcome to the Once Upon a Time in Huntsville podcast hosted by me, Sampley Baranaga. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a great episode to listen to. This is the second time I've had Hunter on the podcast, Hunter Doohan. So if you haven't listened to the first one, I would go listen to that one first. That's pretty much wherever you want to listen to your podcast, plus it's on YouTube, just because we do mention a couple things from that one. But it's not necessary. We just have a couple inside jokes here and there from that first one. We had to do it via Zoom again, so apologies for some warbly dialogue here and there, but other than that, it's pretty clear and easy to understand. Thank you so much for listening. Please continue to listen. Please share the podcast if you really enjoy it. Thank you for those who have favorited me on Spotify. I was surprised to see how many people had me favorited on Spotify. If you haven't done that, please do that. Please rank the show 5 out of 5 stars because that really helps kind of get my podcast seen. And thank you so much, and please enjoy Hunter Doohan. Dude, what? All right, what's up, man?
Hi, how are you?
Dude, I'm well. What about you?
I'm good. Oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever.
Dude, it's been a while. Probably
Probably last time we did the podcast.
probably last time we did the podcast. I was about to say, I was trying to think when we went to that Oscar party that Mr. Cranston hosted for everyone. But I think that was before the podcast. So yeah, the podcast. And that was during like
Yeah.
2020 or 2021, so like the height of COVID and everything.
Yeah, because did we do it right as the show was coming out, I guess?
Yeah, I think like an episode or two had come out and maybe even more than that. And so it was the as the kids say, the hubbubaloo of it was the talk of the town.
As they say.
I'm well versed in what the teens are up to these days. I still read teen magazine. Wait,
Sample, you're such an old married man.
I'm an old married man wearing my sweater. Well, speaking of the Oscars, I saw that picture you posted yesterday. Did you go to the Oscars?
I didn't go to the Oscars. I went to just a couple after parties.
Oh,
Uh,
just a couple after parties. It was
uh,
the Vanity Fair one?
yeah, so it
Wow.
was, you had to show up in something nice, which for me meant, a see-through shirt.
So you went to the Vanity Fair party like a night or two ago, and now you're doing my podcast. That might be the biggest downgrade in history of events. That just shows
Yeah,
I think that shows to everyone how humble of a person you are.
man, I hadn't thought about it, but now I'm wondering what I'm doing here.
Wait. Your publicist and manager are like, what are you doing? Get off right now.
Get off right now.
So
Yeah, they're always watching. They're gonna just jump on this call.
they're gonna just edit me completely out of this thing. This thing's gonna end up being like 3 minutes. So before we kind of get into everything, like what was that like? What was that experience like?
It's a lot of waiting in line, to be honest.
Is it really? I just went to Disney World and that was essentially the same thing.
Yeah, probably exactly like that. I there's so much like it's fun, but there's so much like ridiculousness that goes into all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Like I was at one party and they were like, "Well, you can't wear the same outfit to the next party because the Vanity Fair one was the second one." And that's
Wow.
like I, it's a podcast, but I'm big carpet. I'm using air quotes, everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and so I had to leave the party at like 10:40, and I was just gonna change in the car, but then basically my time slot for Vanity Fair was 11:30, and so they wouldn't
Wow.
even let me get in line until then, and then I was in line for like over an hour. So I got into the Vanity Fair party like 12:45. I was like, "Give me a drink."
Dang. So
Yeah.
like, or who did you get to stand next to in line? Was it at least someone like someone cool?
Yeah, Alden Ehrenreich, which I had met him a couple times. He did
Hey, Solo.
yeah, and he was
Yeah,
just in Cocaine Bear with like my
that's
best friend
right.
Aaron. So I had met him before, and he's like the coolest guy ever. So it was like, thank God I had somebody to talk to.
Yeah, I mean, just standing in line like that would suck if you were like that. Yeah, I was gonna just pick out a random name, but I don't want to pick out a random name and just shame someone. It would suck
Yeah.
if I was there and you were standing next in line with me. I'll go with that. How
Oh,
disappointing would
no,
that
I
be?
would
And
have been
then
happy
like two
about that.
people in front of me, there's like Morgan Freeman. You're just like, man, out of all the, should have got here
Wow,
sooner.
so close.
But so you go to a party and like you have to leave at a specific time to go to the next one. Like I'm not well versed in this part of the entertainment business.
Yeah, me neither. But yeah, I had to just like leave with enough time to like uh change and go through security.
Wow,
And yeah, it's all just a little crazy, but
that's so
it was
weird.
fun once you got inside and the drinks were free.
You can't be. That would suck if they like sent you a bill though.
Yeah,
What?
here's your bill.
You're just like, oh man, what? That's awesome though, dude. I'm so happy that you're getting to experience all that stuff, man. That must just feel like a rush. It must feel kind of insane because the last time I had you on, it's one of my favorite episodes I've done just because your story is just so interesting. You move out to LA, you, if I remember correctly, you do a bunch of extra work, and I feel like
Yeah.
you were like a tour guide at Universal,
Yeah, good memory.
and then maybe like a bartender or something like that, like two, like a waiter
Yeah,
or something,
waiter.
a waiter, and then now you're like going to Vanity Fair parties. Like, what is that like? Like where in your headspace are you like, okay, is this real or did like I hit my head like when I went out to LA and this like I'm like in the hospital like in a coma?
Yeah, somewhere in between. There's definitely well, just because it was so different. Well, real quick, I got to see Ed Berger from Your Honor at the party.
What? Oh yeah, because he won best
Yeah,
international
he won like
film.
4 Oscars the other night.
Oh dude,
It was just
he's
so nice.
I only got to work with him once on my first shooting day there, and I think that was his last day. And I remember
Oh
when we
yeah, in that
wrapped.
school.
Yeah, in the high school, I remember when we wrapped, everyone was like clapping and crying because he this was his like last episode he's directing, and I
And
had
you're
just
like,
gotten
wow,
there,
the show's great.
so I was like, I can't like be this emotional or anything. I just met the guy, and I remember he took some time. He walked over to me. He saw how awkward I was, and he shook my hand. And was like, "Hey, it was really nice working with you." And I was just like, "Oh man, what a like!" Instantly, like goes to like some of my favorite directors I've worked with just because he did that. Like he didn't have to do that, but he did. So when I saw that he
Yeah,
won last night, I was like, "Yeah, he deserves it." And you must feel even more so since you actually like really worked with him.
that was cool. But like, going kind of go back to your other question, like what it feels like. I've definitely like there's like this, big sense of, oh, I shouldn't be here in this party. So like imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And so like I like saw him, I was like, hi, like I hope he remembers me. And then of course he was like, and like it was so sweet and like came up and hugged and we talked for a minute.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That would have been really bad though, as if as you're saying goodbye, he's like, "All right, bye, see you later, Stuart." And you're just like, "Oh, maybe he
Yeah.
didn't remember me."
I just sort of pretended not to hear that.
No, no, he's such a great guy. So, like, yeah, your story. One of the things that I've noticed about you is you work consistently. Like, you go from TV show to TV show to TV show. Like, so you did Truth Be Told, right? You played the young Aaron Paul.
Yeah.
And then you go and do Your Honor, which is weird because you go from playing the young Aaron Paul to then you're the son of Bryan Cranston. So there's like
I
a
know.
Breaking
Some
Bad
real
connection there. And then you go do this like massive hit Wednesday. Like, do you feel like some people may think that like you signed like a contract with the devil, or like you just like had like you threw a quarter into the fountain or something like that? Your wishes are coming true.
Oh my God, maybe. It's fun to hear it from like an outside perspective because you can kind of get so, I don't know, like wrapped up in like the panic of the acting world. Like, because for me, it
Yeah.
was like almost a year between like Your Honor coming out and going to do Wednesday. So from on my end, I
Wow.
was like, oh my God, am I ever gonna work again?
No, totally. And I
Well,
kind of
and then
wanted to
everyone was
ask.
like, we're going back for season 2. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm dead.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your Honor. So originally it was supposed to be a mini series for people who don't know, or
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a limited series. And then it did so well, it got picked up for season two, and you're dead. And unfortunately, I didn't get a call either because you're dead. And I was like, oh man. And then a
That was
year
bad for
so a
both
year
of
goes
us.
by. A year goes by. Do you get a call from your agent saying like, hey, Tim Burton wants to like bring you in to like kind of discuss this? Or did they just send you a
No,
script and say, hey, you want to tape for this real quick?
it's not even a full script. They sent me, you know, two scenes for something called like Wanda because there was like a code name. They wouldn't even tell me what it was. Uh,
Yeah, that makes sense.
but I ended up like they said it was like an untitled like Tim Burton thing, and like Wanda was in the script, and so then I like, did some sleuthing around on Google and figured out what it was.
Yeah.
Um, but then I didn't hear anything for like 3 months, and then
Wow.
they called on like a Monday and were like, "Hey, you're gonna test with Tim Burton and Jenna Ortega on Friday." It's like, "Oh, okay." And it was COVID, so it was a chemistry read over Zoom. So you've seen how smoothly this has gone when we were trying to get
Yes.
on this. Like, I'm so nervous, and I had to get on there
Yeah.
and do that.
Yeah, I think one of the, me being an actor, of course, I only think about myself and how COVID has affected me. But I hate Zoom everything. I hate the fact that like we have to do this podcast through Zoom because it is wonky to set up. At first I wasn't talking and so, you couldn't hear, or I couldn't hear you. And then like the chemistry reads I've done or the callbacks I've done through Zoom, they're just the worst. They're just it adds an immense amount of stress upon an already immense like or not already a really stressful event in your life because it's like, oh, I'm like going in for this big job interview that could either, define my life and my work and my career, or Zoom's gonna screw me over because I'm
Yeah.
trying to read a scene with a scene partner and we're overlapping one another. And then I stop to let you say your line, and then they stop too, and then there's this silence, and you just see them just maybe he's not the right pick. So what was that like reading with Gino? Did everything go just like perfect, or was it kind of
Um, it went well. She was like, I read with one scene with her and one scene with Percy, who played Xavier on the show. He had already been cast as well.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it went well. I'm like, I don't know if you remember, I have like a over prepare like no other. So I had like rehearsed the scenes like within like an inch of their life. Uh,
Yeah.
and then it went by really quick. I think I got the main note I remember getting. I think we did the scene with Jenna twice and the scene with Percy once. The scene with Jenna, Tim got on and asked me to be more vulnerable, which was a big moment for me because I had been getting so close to so many things, and the note every single time had been, "We like him. He's just a little too vulnerable. He's a little too sensitive," like that, like
Oh
consistently. And I was like,
wow.
"I'm an actor. Like, what do you want from me?" And then so when he said, "I need you, can you do it again, like a little more vulnerable?" I was like, "I gotcha, Tim." Uh, but then it was honestly, it was like such a quick audition that
Yeah.
I kind of like logged off and was like, "Oh, probably didn't get that."
Wow.
And then
That's
they
crazy.
make you wait a week, and then they finally call with the good news.
So when you get that call, like when you get that like booking, what's your first reaction? I act like I just scored a touchdown. I don't know what your instant response is.
Oh yeah, I was at my husband's mom's house in New York with like no service, and so I had to like I looked down, I had like 5 missed calls from my agent,
Oh
and so I was like
gosh.
trying to like get service. I had to go up to the front yard. It rained. I was in my socks, and I finally found a spot. And they told me the news. I was like jumping up and down in my like gross muddy socks. And
Oh, gross.
yeah, I know. And then
That
I came
imagery alone
inside.
I don't like.
Yeah, you want me to do the sound effects?
Oh no, please, please, no, please, no. Dude,
Give
that
you an
that I love that
ASMR
so
moment.
much. Because like either when you see that you've missed calls from your agent, either that's like amazing news. Like 90% of the time it's amazing news. And then other times you're like, oh gosh, like what is going on? Like what have I
Yeah,
done for
it's
them to
got to
be
be good
calling
news.
me?
Like if they're gonna fire you, they're not gonna like try to hunt you down that much.
No, yeah, they'll give you a call if you don't answer, they'll just like take you off all their things.
Yeah, they'll send you an email.
Or so so you're jumping victoriously in these. I don't even want to recap that moment. Yeah. So you're freaking out. Do you at this point, after doing like the initial like taping and then like the chemistry read with Jenna, do you understand like the complexity of that character yet, or is it just kind of like
Not
um
entirely. So the scene that I did in the like chemistry with Percy, we were kind of fighting with each other, and like you got
mhm.
more of our history, which they ended up cutting out of the script. We never even shot it because
Oh
it
wow.
was kind of like too much of a hint at Tyler being a bad guy.
Yeah.
Um, and so we kept asking for more and more information, and they like couldn't tell us because multiple people are testing. They didn't want it to like get out, but they said that he had a dark secret, and I was like, "Is it the dark secret?" Uh, and they wouldn't tell us, but so I had like an inkling, so I just tried to play into like the evil side of that in
Yeah,
that scene
yeah.
because it was weird. You're auditioning for what like to me feels like almost like two characters, and they didn't really test the like the real Tyler, or not even the real Tyler, but like the evil Tyler when he's like
Yeah.
fully lost himself to the monster later on.
So
um but so then I got like on a Zoom call with Al and Miles, the showrunners, and we had like an hour conversation. They explained like all of my history and like what my arc on the show was going to be.
oh wow, that just must be just amazing to hear that. Was there any point in time where like you have the role, like you show up to set, like when did it finally like set in like, oh, I'm doing this, like I'm like a lead role in this Netflix show? Or yeah, it was originally from the get-go a Netflix product, right?
Yeah, I was always Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
um I don't know, I remember like I was on set and I got to see like Tim Burton's original sketch of what he wanted the monster to look like.
Wow.
And it was like, and he told me he waited until I was cast to do it. And I was like, and then I saw it and I was like, what does that mean? But it was still really cool. And I'm like, on this show, I'm like a Tim Burton monster. It was like that show was full of kind of like pinch me moments or whatever, because the scale of it was just so huge. Like I'd never done anything like that. Everything I've
Yeah.
done before, like, Truth Be Told or Your Honors, very grounded, very much set in the real world.
Yeah.
And this, like, all of a sudden you're talking about monsters and, kids with powers, and you have to like try to find a way to make believe that.
Yeah.
It was like really fun. I loved it.
Yeah. There's a and there's certain things, I've either taped for or done where it's like, oh man, like this is for me, that's harder to do, which is weird because I feel like I have a pretty strong imagination. But for whatever reason, when I see the words on paper, I'm like, oh, like this is kind of tough world. Because like, when you study in school, like, Chekhov and Shakespeare and Tennessee Williams, all this stuff, and you read something like that, a part of you is like, like I don't know if I can do this. But I think what's really fun is just being like, I don't know, not to be cliche, but just kind of letting that like inner child come out and just kind of have fun with it. And it looks like you guys just had a blast shooting stuff on set, like especially with Tim freaking Burton, who I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean,
were you?
everything was so like grand and crazy, and we were shooting in Romania, and like that like episode 1, there's that like carnival. They brought
Yeah.
in a full carnival just like in the middle of the woods, like behind our like studio. It was just like I was like anything he wants he gets.
And I bet like because I would say there are very like specific stylistic directors. Like when I think of that, I think of like a Wes Anderson or like a Quentin Tarantino, and then like Tim Burton's there for sure. And I bet like
Yeah.
his oh man, like his just imagination and like his set design and his framing like kind of makes that easier for you as an actor to believe in those things that may be like harder to believe in. And one of my questions I wanted
Yeah,
to ask you was when you, or sorry,
uh,
before you met Tim Burton, like what was that process like? You're about to get on a Zoom call with like Tim Burton. Were you already kind of a big fan of his work, or most people are?
yeah, I was freaking out waiting for that Zoom call, the final audition, and then I was really like intimidated because not only like being a fan of his work, but just like kind of only knowing him through his work, I was like, what is this guy gonna be like, you know?
Yeah,
I was like, I've seen the pictures of him with his crazy, awesome hair, and uh, you know, all of his stories are, dark and twisted, and uh, but then I landed in Romania and I was doing my, quarantine alone in my Airbnb,
yeah,
and he like gave me a call just to like check to make sure I was like doing okay, and I was like, oh, you're like the sweetest man ever. Like I was like, okay, it's
yeah,
gonna be good. We're good. We're good. Like, and working with him on set is great. He's like so collaborative because he's so specific about the look and the feel and the shot and every design element that goes into it. And he had a lot to say in he's the executive producer of the show as well. So like story wise, but he doesn't like nitpick your acting. Like he definitely will step in and he definitely directs you, but he doesn't like to do it too much. And one night at dinner, he told us he chooses actors he trusts and lets them do their
yeah.
thing, which like filled me with so much confidence. I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. Like,
No, like 100%. That's like, I am in no way comparing myself to Tim Burton, but like one of the passions I'm following right now is my like writing and directing and just doing like local shorts and stuff. I guess like kind of growing up, like you almost even movies show this where the directors are always, giving notes to actors, and that's all that they seem to do. Like when you're watching that as a kid, and
yeah,
then I've too discovered from watching like countless interviews with different directors I admire, where yeah, like just what you said, they just get actors that they trust and that they love to collaborate with. And most of the directing is coming in and saying, well, what if we tried it this way or that way, and or vice versa. The actor says that to the director. Most of the directors like I don't know, kind of doing other stuff or just trying to bring
yeah,
his vision to life with all of the other departments too. And I feel like that's something I've learned a lot of is just when you get actors that you really just trust and want to work with, you're really not like nitpicking the acting or anything like that. And that's all, that just must be incredible to get on set and work with one of the biggest directors. And he's just a collaborator. He's just he treats you like you guys are right there together.
yeah. It was really special, especially just like being a young actor and like
Yeah,
kind of being treated with so much respect from someone that like I admire so much. And then also, I mean, we were so lucky because we had, Jenna leading us, and
yeah,
she's just out of this world
insane
talented.
talent.
So,
What was it like?
sorry.
No, you're fine, dude. I'm stuffed up too. Like you should have seen
I
me
know.
yesterday, just like dripping. It was bad. Not to be. I get that might be a
You got on
worse
even wet
image than the
socks.
socks. I'm sorry. Yeah, people are just gonna be like cringing as they listen to this.
Oh my God, people are gonna turn this off.
I'm gonna try to get the word moist into our conversation somehow. Because like, did you know that's one of the most hated words for people to hear is moist.
Yeah. I people that think that are weak.
What was I about to say? It was something. Oh yeah, so you're collaborating not only with Tim Burton but also Jenna Ortega, who's like bursting onto the scene, which is funny because she's like been working for a really long
Yeah, I mean,
time.
yeah, she's, a lot younger than I am, but been working so much longer than I have. Like, she's incredible.
No, 100%. So when you two meet, is there like an instant just understanding and bond there, um, was it something that, or did you guys go out of your way to form a friendship, like meet, have coffee, go over lines and all that stuff?
I went out of my way. I was like, hey, let's hang out in LA before we fly to Romania.
Yeah.
So we did, like, we went out and met up for coffee. Um, and just kind of like hung out for like an hour or two before we went over there. And thank God we did that because she's so busy on the
Yeah.
show. I mean, if you watch it, she's like in every frame. And when she's not shooting, she was doing cello lessons, fencing lessons, learning how to speak German. Like, and
That's
so,
all. Just one of those sounds too stressful for me.
yeah, I know.
That's insane.
But I mean, people are always like ask about like how we created like chemistry, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Like, just like it was easy. I mean, she's like so delightful. We just like became friends in real life that we just had fun together.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you guys once it premiered, did you guys all have like a private screening before it dropped on Netflix and got to like kind of watch it all together?
Um, no, we had they were really kind of strict with it. I guess we did get the first two episodes sent to us as like a preview so we could talk about it for press.
Yeah.
But they were like, don't share with anyone. But my mom was in town, so I let her watch them with me.
You gotta let your mom watch. I mean,
Yeah,
like I've done the same thing. I mean, who are they gonna tell? You just find it on Facebook
everyone.
the next day. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
mom. Oh man, that so well, hey, by the way, I don't even know if I've said it. Like I think I sent you a text when it all came out, but again, congratulations on your work, man. Like
Thank
it
you.
was incredible stuff. Like that's so cool to see someone that you've worked with. Like there are like I feel like there are certain tiers like in pop culture. There's like in terms of like popularity, there's like you know how you're just born knowing what like Star Wars is,
Yeah,
and like kids nowadays are born like knowing what Stranger Things is. Like I feel like
right.
Wednesday is like now in that like tier, and it's just so cool to see that, man.
Yeah,
Like I really have no follow up. Just like it's just cool to see that you got to do that.
it's crazy. I mean, when we were doing it, we didn't expect it to, blow up the way that it did at all.
Yeah,
I think just like shooting in Romania and being so far from home, and then we came back and there's like 7 months between end of shooting before premieres. It was like, and then it was like, oh, remember that thing we did? And then it like comes out and all of a sudden, like, shoots to number one, and then it's just the views are just insane.
were there any nerves uh about it being an existing property? Because fans are really strong about certain things that they're in love with. So were you nervous at all that like people that there might be a backlash, or were you kind of confident in the product that you guys had made that people were? I know that's like a heavy loaded question. It's
Yeah.
kind of just like you might feel like one day, man, people are gonna love this, and some days you're just like, well, I don't know, like this is so different and unique. Yeah.
I mean, luckily, like personally, like, obviously Tyler doesn't exist in any other worlds that Adam's family has been involved in
Yeah,
before. I think a lot of that pressure was on Jenna, but I knew that
that must be
she,
nice.
yeah,
He's like, take it all.
good luck. No, I knew that she was great. And then pretty much as soon as that like first trailer dropped, it like got, tons of views on
Yeah,
YouTube, and uh all of the comments seemed to, I think people just like rallied around her immediately,
yeah,
which is awesome, and just like recognized how talented she is. And I think what really helped too was that, for a lot of us, our Wednesday is Christina Ricci from the 90s movies.
yeah.
And she being in the show kind of felt like we had the original Wednesday's stamp of approval.
Yeah, that's like an incredible thing. Like, what was it like working with her? Did you get to talk to her about like what that like how does she view that? That must be weird. Like you're doing it as a teenager and like years pass by and you're watching someone else do it and you're still a part of that. Like, did you get to talk to her about that at all?
I didn't ever like ask her about it specifically, like
Yeah, that was
um
probably a smart thing to
just kind
do.
of,
Like,
yeah, what's it like? No, it was cool for me to like just see, because my scenes, a lot of them were like with both of them together, and it was cool for me just to see that. And she just seemed to like genuinely be having a good time over there. I think it
yeah.
was kind of fun for her to return to that world. And then also, I don't think she had worked with Tim since Sleepy Hollow.
Oh wow.
So she seemed to just be having a great time, and she's like really cool, and I don't know, I'm just loving that she's having this kind of like big moment with like this and Yellow Jackets, which has taken
Oh
off.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's been like a lot of resurgences lately, which I think is like just like super awesome. Like obviously, Brendan Fraser who won the other night for The Whale, and then
yeah.
help me pronounce his name, Key, um, uh,
Oh yeah. From yeah, because he did.
Everything
Is it
Everywhere,
Raiders of the Lost Ark?
or
Is that the
Temple of Doom,
Jones
short
movie?
round.
Temple of Doom. Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't
he
seen
won
that
for
movie forever.
best support. What's funny is me and my wife we watched that. We went through all the Indiana Jones like a month or two ago, and I didn't even know anything about the movie that just like swept all the Oscars. Like I might have heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet, which I need to now. Especially, it must be amazing. And dude, he's like the best part about that second movie. Like as a child actor, like not to take the conversation away to somewhere else, but like he's fantastic in that. So it's like really, I don't know how do you feel about the Oscars? Sometimes I'm just like I'm a little bit more cynical about them, and then sometimes I'm like, man, like you see him winning, and you're just like, oh man, that's just awesome. Like trying to
No,
hold
so
back tears, like watching that guy's speech.
I love the award shows.
Yeah,
Like, I guess you can't let it be like the only thing you care about or whatever, but
yeah.
like they're I don't know, they're always fun, and it's just like for me, I'm just like a fan of all the those movies usually, so I'm just like kind of watching and seeing what's I don't know. I love that world.
No, yeah, it was just great to see that movie just act like dominate, and then like you had Jamie Lee Curtis like winning. She's had a great resurgence too. She's a fantastic actor. That's one of my wife's favorite actresses. And then obviously Brendan Fraser. That was just cool to see. I've been a big fan of him for a long time. I think everyone is. I don't think he has like any haters.
I
Do you
know,
have
like
like a I'll admit to this. I'm vain. Do you have like an Oscar speech in your head? Like one prepped, ready to go just in case?
uh not yet. I guess I gotta work on
You see, you're too busy working on actual projects. That's what it is.
that.
You're too busy to think about that silly stuff. My,
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you familiar when? I don't think it was at the Oscars. I think it was at the Golden Globes when Ving Rhames won. I'm pretty sure it's him. He won for best actor in like a miniseries or something like that. And have you ever seen his speech before?
I don't think so.
It was a fantastically like awkward slash like heartwarming moment because Jack Lemmon was also nominated, and Ving Rhames invited him to the stage because he wanted to share the award with him. And Jack Lemmon like was just like like I'm it's yours. And then eventually like he gets up and goes up there and is kind of just like awkward about it, but because Ving Rhames like that I guess Jack Lemmon was like his hero growing up. So he wanted like to celebrate him and his moment too, which is like so heartwarming. You're like, oh man, like the Stones to do that is just incredible. But I would
That's
love
really cool.
to do that with someone who isn't even nominated and then coordinate with
Uh,
them to not get up.
tell them ahead of time.
Like just to keep refusing to get up. That's my ultimate dream.
Wow, they are gonna play you off. You are gonna
Yeah. I
get
might
that
be.
music.
They might have that new crisis team get up there and remove me. Uh, but going back to Wednesday, season two's coming up, right? Or have you guys started preparing for that yet?
They are working on the scripts. I everyone's like, come on, just tell us one thing. I'm like, I don't know anything. I and people were like, you're gonna be in it, right? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, so many people asked me that. I was like, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I, I have confirmation. So I was like, come on, like that last scene, he's escaping out of that van.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's what I thought too. Because like it kind of has that moment where the camera's on you, and then it's like your eyes open, which is a great
Start
shot.
bulging.
People are gonna hate this.
Yeah,
But well, if you're not willing to dish out anything, I'm just gonna get your mom on the podcast because I'm sure she's already read the scripts. You've already given them
that's
to
true.
her, and she'll spill all the
I
beans.
don't have the script, Samly. I don't know
No, I
anything.
believe you. I believe you 100%. I believe you. That's got to
I don't
be
think we're going
exciting.
back until like September, so I still have some time.
Oh wow, wow, yeah, yeah. What month are we in? March. We're like mid March. Yeah. All right. And then last time we on the last podcast we talked about all the strange DMs you were getting from Your Honor. I'm assuming from the popularity of Wednesday. How is that getting out of hand? Can you turn them off, or do you like to read
Uh,
insane
so I
things?
only like get messages from people that I follow,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything else goes into message requests. And occasionally I'll like open it, but it's like such spam that like I really like don't see it. And sometimes people will be like, "Oh, I sent you a message." I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I definitely didn't even see it." So I'm sure there's some like crazy things in there, but I try to like just not engage because of like some weird experiences I had when Your Honor came out.
No, I remember that from Your Honor. If the listener or listeners, hopefully that's plural.
Listener.
Haven't listener, my mom hasn't hasn't listened to that last episode. Go listen to that last episode me and Hunter did. It was interesting to say the least. But I actually did this poll on Instagram. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I did this poll. So I have some fan questions for you if you got like another minute.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let me get my phone out. And I have not read these yet.
Okay,
So
so this is where I'll get the weird messages.
yeah, okay. Just a second, let me pull this up. Swipe right. All right. All right. First question comes from Bucket Seat 72. All right. Hey Hunter. You can say hey Bucket Seat
Oh,
72.
hey.
No, I'm just messing with you. It says, "Hey Hunter, since you're such a prominent figure in the media now, why would you risk it all by being seen with Sampley?" You know what? You don't have to answer that, Hunter.
Uh,
I'm gonna
uh,
I'm gonna skip to the next one.
it's a good question.
All right, here's the next one. Hey Hunter, does Sampley smell as bad as he looks? Hold on, let me find another one. Wow, I
Yes.
should have read these before. Okay, here's a positive one. Big fan of the podcast. I make
Ah,
my children listen to it as a punishment when they misbehave. That's not even a question.
that's
Hold on just a second. All right, okay. Hey Hunter, big fan of yours, and I wanted to ask you if you could pull some strings to get Sampley on Wednesday season 2. Oh, I really want to see him die on screen. That's
oh
you don't have
yeah.
to answer that one either.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you killed.
Nope. You know what? We're not gonna do this. I'm gonna put those to the side.
I
You know
was
what? I usually
sensing
don't do scripted bits like that, but and I probably won't again.
that was scripted.
that, that was scripted.
Oh my,
Oh my
wow.
gosh, I never knew.
The commitment to the bit was spectacular.
I appreciate it. Well, dude, like I don't want to take up any more of your time. I really appreciate you coming on here once again,
Yeah.
just to catch up and just answer some of my stupid questions. Um, but
Yeah, God, they're
congratulations on the
so
success that you
stupid.
have had. Congratulations on the success you're going to gain from Wednesday 2 or season 2, and everything that comes with it, man. For real.
Thank you. Yeah, it should be a fun year. I'm excited for what's coming up.
Oh man. And if this is the last time we see each other, just remember that when those kids in that locker and in that like school section in that hallway with all the lockers, when they were picking on you, I stood up for you. And Your Honor season 1.
Uh,
They were actually picking on me, and I
really?
think you stood up for me. I think it was the other way around.
Oh, yeah. In real life, I was like, wait, didn't we get in a fight in the scene? Yeah. No, they like we got bullied.
Yeah, they were like roasting us. Dude,
They were
I know we talked about this on the last podcast, but it just kills me that they were just like roasting us.
yeah, they were like I was like, what are y'all talking about? They're like, we're trying to decide which one of y'all would win in a fight. But like the tone he said it was if like no one would win in a
Yeah, it
fight.
would just be a tie, which it kind of
Yeah.
was in a way. I mean, your
Yeah.
character kind of beats me up. Well, but not really. Do you remember that you were supposed to like punch me in the face? I'm so glad that didn't happen because
Yeah.
I had a feeling like the stunt coordinator. I can't remember his name, but awesome guy. He was like, I don't think he would punch him in the face. I think he was doing me a solid because I think he maybe heard you on the phone talking about how Alma really hit him.
I was like, I'm not holding back. To my mom. I was talking to my
Yeah, to your mom. Your mom was like, "Hey, go get him, go get him, Tiger."
mom.